Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nemeka Onyeka Wabiri. I always counsel people. Numbers don't lie. Don't allow yourself to be suffocated in your hate and the ignorance. Now, we've seen the numbers, the tariff numbers coming out of the US. Donald Trump, of course, sometimes he can be very erratic. Sometimes he can, bluster more than he's doing. But those tariff numbers he produced, some people who do not understand numbers are busy arguing. He should have done this, he should have done that. Now, let us come to the facts here. There's nothing like free trade in the whole world. Nothing like free trade. Let nobody deceive you. Let not the Western propaganda, let not the IMF, let not the WTO, let not any of those international agencies controlled by the US deceive you with this narrative that there's something like called free trade. There's not like free trade. Nations are suffocating themselves. I saw the tariff placed on goods coming out of Nigeria, 14%. And in the numbers released by the US, they claim that Nigerians charge tariffs, 27% tariff on goods coming from the US. It's even more than 27% for those of us who understand the numbers. I'll give you an example. In every trade transaction between nations, countries as much as possible try to protect their local industry. One of the ways they protect their local industry is to place tariff on competing goods coming from other countries, especially in developing economies. Take for instance Malaysia. Any luxury vehicle, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, coming into Malaysia almost have about 100% tariff on it. What they are trying to do is, the more tariff they put on it, as long as it's expensive for you to bring it in, you'll be forced to patronize the local goods. If you don't want to patronize, then you have to pay for it. It's luxury, you have to enjoy it. Take for instance, even in the case of Nigeria, between 2003 to 2000, even till now, the US president, both the Democrats and the Republicans, provided a window for Africa and other developing economies to export certain goods that we have competitive advantage on, tariff-free, under what they classified as the African Good Opportunity Act, the AGOA framework. Most of those items were things that has to do with leather, garments, apparel, shoes. It's on record that annually the US imports over $125 billion worth of these products, garment, leather, shoes. It's also on record that the top garment, apparel, leather, shoe producing companies, sports companies, Adidas, Puma, Nike, and the rest of them, with collective turnover of over $60 billion, do not have a factory of their own. They do contract production on selected countries where they have cheap labor, where they have equipment and machineries to do excellent work. We've always made this argument. But do you know that between 2003 till now, Nigeria, which has solid advantages in these areas, from Kanu to Onitsha to Aba, we have some of the best apparel producers, some of the best garment producers, some of the best leather producers. Yet, the governments of the day in Nigeria did not put in place any policies, any programs, any supportive infrastructure and financing to help those within these industries to be able to produce competitively, to give them the opportunity of exporting into the US, to be able to take advantage of this zero tariff export into the US under this AGOA framework. Countries like Vietnam, go and check the records. We are doing almost $5 billion export into the US annually. Tariff-free. Yet the same Vietnam placed huge tariff on goods coming from the US. Countries like China, countries like Bangladesh, Indonesia, were exporting massively into the US. Nothing was coming out of Nigeria. I'll give you a typical example. We signed in 2018 a contract with Adidas, where they will pay the Super Eagles $3 million for branding our jerseys and everything. They paid us $3 million. Of course, we know what happened. Most of those money is not coming to Nigeria. Those who were running NFA did what they did. But do you know that the same Adidas, within a space, I think either Adidas or Nike, I can't remember any of them, they're one of these top companies. Within 24 hours, because of the beautiful nature of our jersey, sold out over $264 million worth of our apparels within 24 hours of the World Cup starting. And most of those garments were produced in either Bangladesh or Vietnam. None was produced in Aba, none was produced in Onitsha, none was produced in Kano. Any serious government will put in place policies, programs, infrastructure support, and everything. Financing, even at single digit 1%, 2%, over 25-year money to support their local industries to produce competitively so that they can earn export revenue, just like China and Vietnam are doing. But Nigeria never did anything in that aspect. The only thing they did was to place tariff on things we cannot produce here. Everybody knows that transport is not a luxury. Transport, we don't. In fact, total number of cars produced in Nigeria every year is about 14,000 by all the car manufacturing and assembly companies in Nigeria. Whereas in Nigeria, we import over 600 to 700,000 worth of cars when things were good. Now, units of cars. Now, the question is, cars are not luxury. There are basic cars that you don't even need to place tariff on. Things like Korope, things like ordinary buses, things like four-stroke engine. Tokumbo cars, most 95% of Nigerians cannot even eat. 95% of Nigerians actually live under poverty. If you are to use the World Bank indicator of 110,000 naira income level every month, which is about $64.55. The World Bank indicator says anybody who earns anything that is less than $64.50 is poor. And if you look at it using the exchange, it's about 110,000 naira. That simply means the average Nigeria is poor. Yet, we have a government that plays tariff 25%, 35%, 70% on basic things that are required here to activate industry, to activate economic activities, to stimulate economy. They put tariff and they expect the other country to fold their hands and not retaliate. I give you an example. I chair one of the biggest agro companies in the Southeast Farms and Agricultural Processing Company Limited. We know how the Malaysians and Indonesians developed the palm industry. Palm trees were not indigenous to the Malaysians and Indonesians. Indonesians came here, it's on record, in 1848 to take the seedlings from West Africa. The Malaysians came in 1870. In fact, it was not them that came. The record showed that, the history showed that it was some Dutch people, Western people that picked this thing and went there to develop it. After 1965, Michael Okpara embarked, between 1959 to 1966, Michael Okpara embarked on a massive agro-revolution. He built many palm settlements. As at 1965, Nigeria was controlling the global palm oil supply chain, 45%. Today, that industry is $82 billion size, controlled 85% by Indonesia and Malaysia, because they were very intentional, they were very scientific, they were very pragmatic in developing that industry. Nigeria, where the palm grows in the wild, where it is indigenous, that was controlling 45% of that global market. Today, we can't even produce up to 50% of what we consume here. We are now importing palm oil from Benin Republic, from Cote d'Ivoire, because there is no scientific way, there is no concerted and intentional policy and program plan by the governments of the day across the 3 tiers and 3 arms of government to support that palm value chain development that can actually give Nigeria nothing less than $38 billion revenue every year. We have the land, we have the human capital, we have the natural climatic conditions to drive palm oil revolution. And we know, based on the numbers, that for us to be able to even meet domestic demand of those produce, that we must cultivate 400 to 500,000 hectares of new Tenera palm plantation, the hybrid species. And it is something that will add so much value. We will have to plant between 60 to 100 million trees of those species. But go and check. There is no intentionality. There is no seriousness. There is no focus. Are you going to borrow money at 35% to do palm and be competitive against the man from Indonesia and Malaysia, who is getting money at 2% from Indonesian palm development agencies for 10 years with 7 years moratorium? How can you compete? So we are talking about real things here and real deal. Ignorant people will come. Oh, Trump is raising tariff. What do you expect him to do? Go and look at the balance of trade. Any country will try as much as possible to protect local industry. As long as most of those goods being tariffed can be produced in the country and produced competitively, it will help to protect local industry and to retain jobs. Because for every job that leaves the country to another place, there is economic losses, multiply effect. So the truth is, rather than sit down and lament and rant, look inward and ask yourself, what am I doing? I give you an example. I was trying to digress. We decided based on what the Indonesians are doing. If you look at the Moringa oleifera is one crop across all the value chain, from the roots to the stems to the fruits to the seeds to the leaves. Very medicinal, well sought after for culinary needs, for pharmaceutical needs, for medicine, and for everything. One crop that is heavenly, a miracle tree given to earth by God. India controls 85% of that industry. Today is over $9 billion market size, and it is expected to grow to about $18 billion by 2032. Now, we decided on our own. We've done pilot schemes. The local moringa species that we have here does just about 2-3 tons of seed every year per hectare. But we have developed a pilot scheme, the imported species, that does about 9 to 10 tons per hectare per annum, and almost 138 tons of leaves, depending on how you planted it and the agro practice applied. And we started importing these seeds, and we started nurturing them and planting them in the southeast. Our plan is over the next 5-10 years to be able to do about 11,000 hectares of this. Beyond the fact that we are going to earn massive carbon credit and carbon revenue. Today, the carbon credit market in Nigeria, global carbon credit market, is $400 billion, and it's going to go to about $1.6 trillion in the next 5 to 10 years. We decided to bring in the hybrid seed, very expensive. We shipped in a 1 kg package, which we paid 122. Our partners paid Professor Bochekwe paid $122 to ship into Nigeria. One would have expected a country that wants to diversify the economy, a country that wants to build agro-economic base, a country that on paper put in agro-input tariff 5%. Why would they even put agro-input tariff at 5%? If we are very serious and we want to harness agro production and diversify the income forest revenue of Nigeria, agro inputs, any input for agriculture, support agriculture in Nigeria, commercial agriculture, not pure agriculture, should be zero tariff. Despite the fact that they placed tariff 5% on paper, do you know how much we paid at post office Falomo here? Because it was a frightened to clear 1 kg of Moringa oleifera seeds that we spent $122 to purchase. $122 multiplied by the official rate, 186 naira. Yet they collected 61,000 from us as custom duties. 61,000 divided by 186. They collected 33% tariff on seeds, input seeds that we imported with our sweat, that we took risk to enable us plant in Nigeria, develop the hybrid crops that are very, very organic, which we plan to process into oil, into powder for export in a country that has policies that are very intentional. Despite the fact that they put 5%, the guys at Falomo Post Office and Customs collected 32%. And you think here we are sane in this country. So guys, see, people must talk with knowledge. If you're ignorant, just open your mouth and begin to talk on issues. Donald Trump may be erratic, but I can tell you, if I am president, I will do the same thing. I will use tariff to protect local industry where we have competitive advantages. I will use tariff to support where we are weak. Where Nigeria does not have companies that are producing equipment and all those stuff. In fact, I will go to China, I will go to Vietnam, I will go to Indonesia, I will go to India. Those basic equipment producers, I will beg them, I will put up infrastructure, give them tax incentives, tariff incentives for them to come and set up assembly and factories in Aba, in Umuahia, in Okigwe, in Onitsha, in Kano, in Lagos, in Ogun State. So these are what we should be talking about. People come to my PC, let me tell you, sometimes people may think, oh, he's very rude, he's trying to. Let me tell you, there's no way to paint it. It's annoying when people don't understand issues and they are ranting and rambling about it. The truth is, every country, there's a trade, is a competition. Every country wants to gain advantage over the next country. And if you're expecting the WTO or the World Bank or the IMF or any of these agencies to be fair, you're wasting your time. They are agents of the imperialists. So every country must do whatever they can do to protect themselves. The Vietnamese are placing 90% tariff on goods from other countries, including America, to protect their local industry. The Chinese are doing the same thing. Indians are doing the same thing. Of course, you expect a Donald Trump also to come in and do kumbaya. Yeah, oh, we are wealthy, we are rich. Let us allow it to remain the way. No, he will fight back. And that is what you're seeing. In the short run, there's going to be a lot of economic disconnections. Prices will go up. But over time, what will happen is they will all sit down. The same people that played that was okay, hey, sorry, we did this. Can we reach an amicable agreement? The truth is, serious nations will protect their economy. Serious leaders will protect their people. In any nation where you have serious leaders like Michael Okpara, the first thing that comes to their mind is protection of lives and properties and the welfare of their people. There is no party man in the jungle. You do whatever you can do legally within the law to protect the interests of your citizens, your constituents. And that is what the guy is doing. You may be angry with his approach or with his swashbuckling ways of doing it, but the fact that what he's doing is the needful and he's doing it well. What did we do? What are we doing in Nigeria to show up the garment industry? The leather? Go to Aba. I have a friend, Ugomde, Toscane. If you see Toscane's apparel, if you see Toscane's suits, if you see Toscane's wares are better than anything you can import from Hong Kong. One of my friends imported a pair of suits from Hong Kong that he paid almost $2,000 to get into Nigeria. I got a pair of suits from Toscane in Aba, Ugomde. The guy was looking at Toscane suits that I was putting on. I was looking at his own. He was asking me, where did I import it from? I said, I imported it from Aba. I told the guy, and if I tell you how much Toscane used to produce that suit for me, everybody was admiring it. It was excellently done. The finishing was top class, world class. Then imagine we have more than 1,000 Toscanes in Aba. Imagine where we do a garment center in Aba, and a garment in agro park, in industrial park in Aba, where you have power supplied to them 24/7, where you have a funding arrangement set up by the state, something like a funding agency, where Toscane is giving money, 5-year money at 1% interest rate to produce garments, and where you have a concerted federal government support policy to help him through the commercial attaches in America, in Canada, to create, to raise market buyers for him there. Even if it's not supplied to the world, even if it's supplied to Nigerians and diaspora, just close your eyes and imagine the kind of wealth that will be coming out of Aba in the garment, the leather industry. We have 19.5 million cows that are kwashokod, creating debt and misery everywhere. We've not bothered to ask ourselves, how do we grow the beef industry to be able to export into the rest of the world? How do we even grow the animal population to 200 million, 205 million like Brazil? How do we develop the tannery and leather industry to be able to supply to Prada, to Gucci, to Louis Vuitton? Some of us, our criminal politicians and their wives, when they travel abroad, they are going to buy leather from Prada. You will see their wives carrying Hermes bag. I bought Hermes, 50,000 pounds. The fools do not know that those bags came from leather produced from animal skins. What are we doing to develop the leather industry, the tannery industry in Nigeria, so that we can also be exporting to Prada? So that when you're buying Prada, or when you're buying Gucci, or when you're buying Hermes, you know that you're buying. We can even produce our own Hermes here. The third biggest rancher in Nigeria, Chief Kofi Udala National Ranch, is producing Western leathers. He produces his own leather and he produces his own processed goods. How many of us are patronizing him? What are we doing to support him and others like him in Nigeria? We have governments who do not even know left and right about how to grow the local economy and build up industry across the 3 tiers. And we have a massive population of ignorant clowns. The Carlos Polo stupids who are citizens who don't even know their left from their right. May God have mercy on us, because when you talk, they say you're being rude.